Hello, everybody, and welcome to our final session of today. Wanted to
Hi,
make sure I
Ryan.
got you up. See, I was trying to make both things work at the same time, and it's a lot on a trackpad today.
It is. Ryan, you're wearing red today. I don't know what to do about that. You guys in the chat, Ryan's wearing red. And he isn't a United fan. But he is going to coach soccer. So that is his excuse. If you make any screenshots of the session, please do not tag Man City.
Come on, you Blues, and I'm in red today, so yeah.
Exactly. Well, Ryan, what do we have going on today?
I'm really excited about this. This is our admin panel, something that we've been working on. What is the future of education going to look like? And our sessions this week have all been themed around the future of education. And you've seen a bunch of different things. We've seen Wakelet focus sessions. We've seen sessions on portfolios. We've seen sessions on Web3, that captivating session just a few minutes ago. So we're really excited to have two superintendents and a superintendent and a director of digital learning and innovation, which is a really cool title, with us today to go through some questions and just get some thoughts and feedback based on that. But before we get started, Tish, you want to go over the housekeeping?
Yes, I will always go over the housekeeping. So remember, every single session this week, including this session right now, you can find for replay on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Wakelet. You know the drill. Go find all of the sessions. There are so many, like Ryan said. And remember, they're not all Wakelet focused. A lot of them will be challenging your thinking, challenging your instructional strategies, making you think outside the box. There's so much there. So we want you to take part in that. Repost those replays. And remember, you can hashtag Wakelet Community Week on all of your social posts to enter the contest. Ryan, they could win that AR/VR set, correct?
They could win the VR headset. They could win a Wakelet swag, some gift packs. There's some really cool and interesting things as well.
Absolutely. And as always, we will give you resources. Now, our guests, if they have resources, we're going to ask them to share those with us later, and we will update the collection of resources for you. And also remember, your certificate will always come at the end of the session. We've got you. We're not going to leave you dry without the certificate. We know that's what you're here for. Anything I missed, Ryan?
Nope, you've got it all. And I'm not sure we're going to have resources, being that this is a panel discussion. So feel free to pop any questions into the chat or thoughts and feelings as we go through. But I'm going to go ahead and bring our two guests up to the stage where they can introduce themselves. I'll give them the little mini introduction just so that we go over. We have Scott Rocco with us, and Scott is the superintendent at Hamilton Township Public Schools in New Jersey. So Scott, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Ryan, Tish. Good to see both of you. And thank you, everybody, for participating today. Look forward to the conversation.
And we have Tara from New York City Public Schools, who is you got the really cool title. You've got the Director of Digital Learning and Innovation.
Well, I have to give myself a good title here. Come on. It's a pleasure to meet you. See you again, Ryan, Tisha,
Yes.
And Scott. Nice to meet you. And just excited to be here with everyone. I have a background in special ed, and then I was director of citywide ed tech for 4 years, including the pandemic. And so I'm excited to be here and share some knowledge knowledge and vision for the future collectively.
Awesome. Well, I'm so very excited to have you here, both of you. Thanks again for taking the time. I know it's 4:30 for our time zone, trying to get things done at the end of the day, and probably the end of the year too for many of us. So thanks for carving out that time. So we're going to jump in with question number 1 right away on our panel. And whoever wants to jump in can go ahead and jump in. We're going to start with a doozy. What are the biggest challenges currently facing education, and how do you plan to address them? So it's the wide overarching thing, but we'll go ahead, and whoever wants to chime in can go ahead and get started.
Tara, you want to start?
Sure. We'll start with the largest school district in the country. And it won't come as a surprise. I think, at least for us, one of our biggest challenges is scale. And I think for education, public education on a national scale, that's a big challenge in general. And I think moving forward, thinking of how do I need to mute? No, I'm good. Thinking of how we can really make one education ecosystem on a national level down to state and to local levels, even with like New York City being as large as it is. To me, that's the power of this moment, and of AI being a catalyst to rethink our infrastructure and really how we're serving our nation and public education as a whole.
Great answer.
I agree with that. I'll give you two other ones. So the first one is change after the pandemic. So the pandemic forced us to do things we didn't think we could do, or transition into things that we were hoping we one day could do. And we had to do it at the snap of a finger. And then once we came back, we reverted back to what we've been doing for 100 years for a lot of our schools and a lot of our instruction in the classroom. And we really need to look at the lessons learned. And I'm not saying what we did during that time was perfect. I'm not saying it's good, bad, and different, but we did change. So what is that change that we can move forward with? And we really need to take that as the motivation to move forward and modernize and evolve our educational system. So that's number one. Number two, we need to start addressing the lack of educators and leaders entering the field, or educators and leaders exiting the field. And this is a major issue across the country, not just here in New Jersey, but everywhere. So we need to begin to develop homegrown interest in our profession. So we need to have, future educator programs. We need to provide opportunities for students to see themselves as professional educators, and then ultimately to be leaders in the classroom, leaders in the school, and leaders in the district, because we are a people business. No matter how much technology we will infuse, we also need to have people in front of our students.
There we go. We got you back. Great answers. And I want to follow up with that because two things. My daughter, we had a session earlier this week where my daughter, she's in just completed second grade, and she was showing her portfolio off, and she was proudly announcing that her mother is a teacher, fifth grade here in town. I'm a former teacher, former principal, PD person as well. And she was like, I want to be an art teacher. And I think that's fantastic. I think we need to cultivate that. We do need to find more than just the kids of other educators to start bringing into that field. So I want to follow up with something you said, Scott, before we get to Tisha's scheduled question. You mentioned that whole falling back and reverting back sometimes to those methods. How do we balance that whole traditional teaching with the integration of those new technologies that are emerging and coming out?
I think we have to, first of all, I think we have to empower our teachers to analyze what was working, what they feel is effective, and then ultimately talk with our students about how they engage and how they want to get information and how they want to learn. Take that information based on what we did and start modernizing the classroom through those conversations. Empower both of them, the learner and the teacher.
Over to me. I mean, I couldn't agree more, honestly. I think it really starts with leadership, especially in our system. I was just having a conversation right before this about that. And how do we really look into next year to focus in? We have 47 districts in New York City, so 47 superintendents. And how do we support not just the superintendent, but the whole superintendent team, and get the information that's needed and the skills and fluency developed, both in in-person classroom and digital tools, the whole ecosystem again, learning. How do we get that capacity built all the way down and through? And in addition to holding on to what worked during the pandemic, also reflecting and letting go of what hasn't served us, really. And I think often in education, we really hold on to things. And I think we need that new mindset shift to be iterative, to take that design sprint approach almost and move through things so that we can keep with the times and really prepare our students for the future that's already here.
And just adding to that, Tara, I think we also, as leaders, have to, I'll use the term, unleash our staff to be able to try different things and experiment and push the envelope. I just had this conversation with somebody in our technology department about an hour ago, how let's push it. We took a giant step. Let's take the next step moving forward, and just giving people that permission to do that, and then to have their back as they do that.
That reminds me of something that came out of one of our sessions I hosted on Tuesday with Andy McNair about Genius Hour and passion projects. And the question was, what did leadership say to you? You brought that to them for the very first time. And she goes, their first response was, there's things we need to do and things we want to do. And if you can hit the need to do's with the what you want to do, she said the most powerful words you can say in leadership, and I 100% believe, is, I trust you. Yeah. Right. Being able to have that trust, like you've both mentioned, empowering these teachers to try something new, being okay to understand that we need to be innovative and pushing those boundaries. Sometimes those things aren't going to fall flat, but then how else can we propel them into that future with PD and time and cutting into all of those other things as well.
Yep.
And also, just to add to that, how do we as like leadership, and I know it's different in New Jersey, just structure, but how at your district leadership level do you create the infrastructure that you're allowing those mandates to be achieved, and providing time for that exploration and innovation to occur? And I think this, again, is another time AI is this catalyst to go, wait, do we have the infrastructure to actually have teachers be looking at learning analytics quickly and supporting personalized learning so that they can really allow for that space and time in their classrooms too. So I think infrastructure is a really important piece of it, and a strong foundation.
Well, and also clearing the path so that they can do that. Teachers, administrators, people in education constantly are getting new things that they're responsible for. This year, we implemented a committee called RISE, Review, Identify, Simplify, and Act. And I brought together a group of teachers and administrators, and we've identified 3 areas that we're focused on where we want to make it more efficient, take something off the plate of our teachers or our administrators so that they can focus on something else or do this task more efficiently. If it takes you an hour to do, can we cut it down to 10 minutes? I think AI in the long run is going to help with a lot of those things if we can properly implement that. But we also have to be very critical about what we're asking everybody to do. And when we finally get critical and list those items, what's essential and what isn't? And if it's not essential, either figure out how to make it more efficient or get rid of it if we're allowed to.
I love that. Sorry, I love that. I'm losing my voice after so many sessions. You mentioned the letters. You mentioned the letters AI. So I'm going to hop forward again to another question. Tish, do you want to ask this one?
Well, I do want to ask it, but I have some thoughts for Scott and Taryn. Remember, I'm not coming from an administrative perspective, but I have studied leadership over and over and over. And like Scott has said, we are in the people business. So it really doesn't matter what industry we're in. We're all in the people business. And I think you hit on something that is so important post-pandemic is the reflection piece. Right. And someone in the chat asked, I wondered why we have reverted back so quickly. And I have seen this. I was an educator for 22 years. I was a digital learning coach. I was vetting tools. I was working with teachers. I was working with administrators. And I have seen the pendulum go all the way to the extreme and all the way back to the extreme. And I have definitely seen that after the pandemic. And I think it's so interesting because, as you said, Scott, now we're coming into this emerging technologies, AI. I have been studying that. That is my master's degree. But I also know that there are issues with it. So I think it's really interesting what you were both saying. Give teachers permission, right, to be innovative, support them. I just want to commend you both because that was part of the discussion we had in several other sessions where teachers wanted to, be vocal, ask for things. A lot of times there is so much fear. And I'm talking from a teacher perspective. There were times as in 22 years, I was fearful of asking someone like leaders like you guys, can I try this program? For fear of being shut down or for fear of being too innovative. I will tell you, I have been told that before. So then I sort of just stepped back and went, oh, okay, so there's no room for this here. But first of all, I would have loved to work under the two of you. But I think that we need to think about all of what you've said in relation to those key trends. How are they going to shape the future of education? Because it's like social media in 2005. Whether we liked it or not, it was coming. Yeah. It was going to be taking over. And I think we're in that same place now, whether we like AI or not, whether you think it will be helpful or not. It's here. Our students are using it. Our teachers want to use it. It seems like every single presentation that I see at conference level is about AI. So I really want to hear from you two on how do you see this shaping the future of education? How do you see your particular role in that future? And what would you like to see? What do you think is possible? What do you dream of?
I'm a dreamer, so you want to go with me first? Okay. So, I mean, my biggest dream is really educational equity, and for New York City, and to use the technology that we already own and have and potentially can build and influence on even a global scale, use that to truly provide educational equity from pre-K onwards. So, comprehensive learner record for the whole system, learner employment record, giving let's get a digital wallet for every student available to take with them wherever they may go in life, and their families. Let's use the technology that we own and have access to invest in our future, which is education. And there's no better way to create a more equitable society than through education. So I feel like it's really the future of education is a question of humanity. Like, are we going to move in that direction? And it has to be a collective effort that's supported by private sector and big business.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of talk of how bad AI can be. Let's really just change the conversation and talk about how good it can be for education. So I really think there's a ton of positive here. We can focus on the negative, but let's focus on the positive. There's a lot of stuff that can be done here to positively impact teaching and learning. You talk about teachers being able to develop engaging lesson plans and assessments with the assistance of AI, be able to provide personalized and relevant feedback, looking to score essays as they go forward. And we did a little project here with a couple of my elementary school principals who were willing to try, and we were throwing around some ideas in a meeting and brainstorming. And when you have parent-teacher conferences and the parent comes in and you start going over scores, and if you have a standards-based report card at the elementary school, sometimes parents don't understand what developing is in a standard. So we said, hey, let's take these standards and these concepts and let's make some recommendations for parents based on where their child is in the report card, and then give them some resources that they can help their children progress throughout the school year. Now, it did a couple of things. One, you talk about efficiency. Now the teacher's not thinking about every little comment they have to create for every student. And two, you're actually giving good feedback and good resources. Now you have to check all this, right? You just don't go verbatim, hey, this is what it spit out, I'm good to go with it. You've got to check it. But that's using it for the positive. That's creating an environment where we now say to parents, here's where your child is academically, here's what that means, and here's what you can do to keep that progress going or accelerate that progress. And that was a good use that we had for it, and we're going to expand that out. And I think the teachers appreciate that they also now have a bank of resources based on where students are in certain parts of the report card.
Okay. I was so excited about your answers. I don't know that you felt excited, but I was excited about both of your answers. Ryan knows how excited I mean, Tara, you started talking about digital wallets and learner records. We just talked about that in the session previously before yours. I think it's so important. Equity is so important. I'm doing a lot of research. I won't tell you why, but I'm doing a lot of research on education and kind of where we were in the 1800s and where we are now. And it feels like a lot has changed, and yet in so many places, not a lot has changed. So I'm with you, Tara, on dreaming big for equity, because I'm right there with you. The other thing, Scott, I want to say kudos to you for bringing the positives, because in Texas this year, for our standardized test and STAR, an article went out right before the STAR test to everybody that said that Texas is going to use AI to grade the standardized test, and everybody sort of freaked out about it, right? So I love that you hit on the positives. I love that you're being so optimistic about it, both of you, because you as leaders are modeling that. And we as teachers and students, we need you to model that. So kudos to both of you for dreaming big, if you will. I think Ryan has one more question for you. Is that right? Oh, Ryan, you're muted.
Welcome to 2020. So I was trying to keep my thoughts to myself there for a little bit. You mentioned it briefly, and I know I just wanted to circle back to this. We've seen the evolution and then kind of like the pullback and then the dreaming big of pushing forward again. Where do we see or how do you envision that role of teachers evolving? Because we hear a lot of like AI is going to take this job or AI is going to take this job. And you get some people who may or may not spend the amount of time digging into research like Tish does, who are just thinking, well, we don't need teachers anymore. We're just going to have AI. And that can be quite demoralizing to trying to build what you've mentioned earlier, Scott, the future wave of educators across the country. So how can we reaffirm people that teachers are needed? How can we reaffirm people that this is a job that people will love? And what does that role look like into the future?
I'll go back to what I said before. We're a people business. And I don't think you can automate that. I think there are elements where you have to be with a student, especially younger students. As students get older into the high school, they can become more independent. Some learn better this way by talking virtually. That's fine. But we've got to have teachers that are flexible. They've got to be willing to engage in the new tech, experiment with the new tech, know that they're supported in that, as I mentioned before. And then they've got to work with the students because we think we know the technology. You need to talk to the younger generation of students, which is a whole nother conversation. We can talk about generational differences, but you've got to talk to our students in the classroom about how they're using technology, how they're learning, and how it's not helping them, right? We've got to talk about the pro and the con associated with it. And then that's where the teacher steps in and create those learning environments that are best suited for the class as a whole and individual students and individual instruction.
Yeah, I mean, I agree completely, Scott. I also think I think we have to make teaching attractive to people, like make it fun. You know, it has such a not a necessarily positive connotation out in the world. And what I would say to that is go be a teacher. You try it. And we need, we need people to do more than talking about teachers. We need people to put their money where their mouths are and saying, oh, we support our teachers. Well, how can that look different now? And I think, again, AI is a catalyst for that, particularly when we're thinking about global agreements in terms of AI policies. So how are we thinking of AI in the context of education? And then how does that trickle down to our workforce to support public education specifically moving forward into the future? And I think we can use a lot of the same strategies. For example, a comprehensive learner record for adults and for professional learning, and use gaming techniques and behavioral motivation factors in how we're giving educators the opportunity to learn, and also having programs in colleges that are cross content areas. Typically we say, okay, computer science is a whole nother story. Computer science, you're not typically getting somebody with a computer science degree and an education degree. Like, we need colleges also to be with us and model what that potentially could look like.
Ooh, Ryan, I just have something to say. I know you're not surprised. Tara, why are we not friends? Please, can we be friends? We need to connect. Everything you're saying. So in the previous session, we were talking about profile of a graduate. You guys have probably discussed that, talked about it, led discussions over that. You have your own. Again, in my research, I am finding out so much about the different profiles of a graduate. One of the things that I found is that everybody's sort of doing their own thing. And I was trying to find the commonalities in that. So that's where my research is taking me right now. My question for you two, and just to kind of end our time together and get some real solid examples, I want to share something with you. I talk about this a lot because I am very much of the thought, and I did this with my own students, not just preparing them for now when they're in my classroom, but how am I going to prepare them to go out into the workforce and into college? What skills am I teaching that also tie to those standards all at once to get them out to be successful? The World Economic Forum put together a list a couple of years back on the top skills of 2025, and we are in 2024. So I'm just going to recap those, and then I want you both to give me some examples on how you and your teams and your districts are preparing students for the future. So the top skills of the top 10 of 2025: analytical thinking and innovation, active learning and learning strategies, complex problem solving, critical thinking and analysis, creativity, originality, and initiative, leadership and social influence, technology use, monitoring and control, technology design and programming, resilience, stress tolerance and flexibility, and reasoning, problem solving, and ideation. So I'm wondering, how are you guys tackling preparing our students for that future in college and career and in the workforce where AI is going to be there? So along with so many other things, but how are you guys doing that right now? What are some examples, real examples you can give our attendees? What are your tips for how to start those conversations with their own leaders?
I'm passing it to you, Scott.
All right. I was writing them down as you were going through. So I wrote down 3. Let's talk innovation, right? So everybody talks innovation. There's lots of different innovation, but we have a program at our middle school, our middle schools. We have 3 middle schools for with drones. And so basically exposing students to the purpose of drones, how they can be used in life, different types of projects. We're working with a company that provides the curriculum for that. But now we're looking at what's the next step for that. And we actually had a day of drones on a Saturday at one of our high schools as a result of this. The best part of that was one of our middle school students brought his own drone with him because he wanted to fly it through the course. And we had the police department with their drones, fire department with their drones, civil aviation. So that's in the innovation end. In the creativity end, and this may not seem creative to people, but we are trying to make sure that our students understand the importance of academics. And for our middle school students, we do have a summer school, but how many kids want to come to school and do worksheets with math, reading, writing? They don't want to do it. So what we're doing is we've revamped it and we're creating it more around problem solving. Think Shark Tank, where kids are going to have to solve problems based on the standards that they're struggling with and then have to present that as part of a project at the end. Now, this is us experimenting and being innovative. It could go great and be fantastic, although I don't think any middle school kid will want to be in school in the summer, but we're giving it a shot. It's better than the standard procedure that we've done for years. And the last one is leadership. At our elementary school, one of our elementary schools, one of 17, we're doing a pilot program this year and tying in with our local Hamilton YMCA, where we're providing a leadership program for several weeks and a lot of different activities for a select group of students to try and build up their leadership abilities. So when they come back to school in September, they are the ones that the rest of the students look to for leadership. And so that is an kind of a little bit of innovation, creativity, and leadership all tied into one. So those are as fast as I could write as you were going through them.
I could not write them down because I don't have a pen. I just have my brain. But because I am a creative, I don't always write things down, which is okay, right? We all learn differently. So what stood out is civic engagement as one of the things. And one program we run is called the HEAT program, which is a place-based learning program for high school students, where they take the 10 months of school, go to an organization like Adobe or the Federal Reserve or a place-based site. It's credit-bearing, 2 credits by the end of the semester. And they go through the design process to solve a real-world problem collectively. And so 2 that I've supported this year are a student AI policy lab, where they're, creating their own solutions based on this EdSafe AI framework. And then also student safety or safety in schools and AI at Cisco. And so they, in addition to that, they're also creating mini documentaries to demonstrate how they're solving their problems of practice. And so it's very PBL, hands-on, civic engagement, creativity, collaborating, and building, building a number of skills. And so I think creativity, just a shift from that, creativity, I think has to be a core part of the classroom, like every single day. And because it allows you also, that creative mindset is also a growth mindset. It allows you to fail. It allows you to push the envelope. It allows you to say, I can try again. And so creativity, I think, is for me, a through line of what's exciting about learning. And then last, analytical thinking. I really think that prompt engineering and evaluating information is one of our best ways to demonstrate to students how they have to analyze and evaluate everything that's in front of them, from what comes out of people's mouths to what comes out of a computer. So that's what I remembered from what you said.
Those were fantastic answers. Ryan, I think you have to head out. So I'm going to let you say a couple of words before you hop out.
I do have to duck out to go coach my U10 girls soccer, but I just want to say both of you, thank you for the enlightenment today. This has been fantastic. I feel like this could be a part 2/part 3 down the road. I feel this is really a great conversation. And hearing from both of you, very important, impressive thoughts. PBL was mentioned in the chat too, people bringing those in for future readiness. I'm just really excited, and I can't wait to see what both of your school districts, both scales, get to push through in the next couple of years. So from my heart, thank you both for being here. I know Tish will keep it going. And
I'm going to wrap up. Thank you, Ryan. I'll see you tomorrow. We'll see you later. Everybody tell Ryan goodbye. Goodbye, Ryan. So Scott and Tara, that was incredible. Honestly, your answer, it's so refreshing, honestly, to hear you give solid examples to that question, because I think it's important for people who are going to go back and rewatch this replay and people in the audience to really see that you guys have solid examples to put to that list. And a lot of times one of you said, you're already doing a lot of those things. So teachers and administrators who are maybe doubting that they're doing that, or they're not sure that they're doing that, I feel like they are doing that. They just need to be shown where those pieces are. And Terry, you're absolutely right. That design thinking process, that prompt engineering, that is bringing everything together. Scott, your examples were great. I want to talk to you more. Just like Ryan said, we need to do an extension of this webinar. I would love to do that. So I'm just going to put you on the spot and ask if you'll come back and do a webinar with Ryan and I, and we'll bring some more administrators in for this discussion, because I think we could just dive so much deeper. I've learned so much from the two of you. What I want to know before we end our time together is, how can our attendees connect with you?
At Scott R. Rocco, that's on Twitter. I refuse to call it X. Or you can reach me at scottrocco@gmail.com.
And I am at Tara Carosa on Twitter. And you can reach me at, this is long, tcarosa2 at schools.nyc.gov.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So we will make sure that you have their contact information. Ryan and I will update that resource collection with their contact info so that you can reach out to them. Remember, you can go back and watch this replay. Scott and Tara, you guys are incredible. Thank you so much for joining. And I just can't wait to have further conversations with the two of you. Thank you for taking time out of your day. I know you're very busy, and keep doing amazing, great things and dreaming big for not just you and your teachers, but for your students as well. Thank you both.
Thank you. Thanks for the invitation.
Thanks for having us,
everybody.
So this session is wrapping up now. Thank you so much for joining, all of you in the chat who have been with us pretty much all day, every day for the last 4 days. Kudos to all of you. I hope you're learning so much from each session for Wakelet Community Week. Remember, your certificate is in the chat, so scroll back up to get that certificate. We will repost and update those resources and contact information for Scott and Tara, so you have those. A very pertinent subject. You're absolutely right. All day has been very refreshing with so many ideas and shares. Don't forget to use hashtag Wakelet Community Week so you can be entered to win the contest. We want to continue giving out prizes. We're starting bright and early in the morning, James, especially here in Texas. I believe we are starting 6:30 a.m. Central Standard Time, 7:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is going to be a morning mindfulness activity, so be ready for that. We also have so many more sessions, and remember, you're going to see me early tomorrow. I am hosting a session called Game On, Lessons in Game Design and Esports. I'm also going to be hosting a session with Ryan. So you're going to see Ryan and I back again. Who knows what's going to happen for that session? And then last but not least, I am going to round out Community Week with a very special student spotlight panel where we are going to be asking students questions about Wakelet and also about the future of education and emerging technology. So I cannot wait to see you again soon. Go get some rest. We'll be right back here tomorrow. As always, I'm sending you love from Dallas, Texas on behalf of the Wakelet team as well. Have a great evening, morning, afternoon, and we'll see you again soon. Bye, everybody. Yes, Alex. I am going to, here comes Alex in there. Yes, you got your certificate. I will give you the winner. We will do that tomorrow as well. Don't worry. It's happening. Be well. Bye, everybody.